Hi, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Fumisho Dikwe. I'm a communication specialist. Today on the Comms Professional, we're going to be discussing crisis communication. Today's video was inspired by the Chrisland saga that is currently going on the Nigerian media space. To give you some context, a student of Chrisland High School, Lekki, died during one of the inter sports. And today we're going to be poking holes to how Chrisland managed this crisis communication-wise. Now, as a communications professional, I do not wish that you go through crisis with the brand that you manage. However, it's important that you are prepared should this happen in the future. And that's exactly what I'm here to do today, to help you demystify what crisis communication is, the importance of crisis communication, some key factors and strategies for success, and of course we're going to be elaborating it with the Chrisland High School Lekki example. So, what is a crisis? A crisis is an event or situation that can damage a brand's reputation. It can also make a brand lose support, loyalty, and patronage. Now, a crisis can be triggered by various factors such as human error, accidents, natural disasters, and others alike. Now, the impact of crisis can be very severe to a brand, and that's why it needs to be managed with an effective communication crisis management plan. Now, crisis can occur at any stage of a brand's life cycle. And that's why it's very, very important to be prepared, to live prepared. You know, as a soldier, you don't start training for battle on the day of battle itself. You start your training before, way ahead of the battle. And that's the way crisis communication is. Now, if you've watched the movie The Fixer, is it a movie or a series? Actually a series with the fictional character Olivia Pope. You clearly understand what crisis communication is. You know, her job basically was to de-escalate any crisis or any situation that was going to poke holes at the brand's reputation that she was managing. And so that's clearly what we're going to be discussing today. Now let's talk preparations. To prepare for a crisis, you have to simulate possible crises that could occur with your brand. Let me give you an example. Still elaborating on Chrisland High School Lekki. If you run a school, there's several scenarios of crisis that could come up. One could be a teacher harassing a student. Another could be food poisoning leading to death. Another could be no light or fighting and outrage. All of that, these are possible crises that can poke holes on the brand that you manage as a comms professional. Now, it's your job to simulate some of these crises that could occur, and as a form of preparation, come up with key messages. Why is it important that you come up with key messages? It's because whatever message you put out there can either make the situation better or worse. So you want to start to prepare beforehand. Like I said earlier on, a soldier does not prepare on the day of battle. You prepare way ahead of the battle. You already know what tactics you're going to be deploying. And so it's the same thing with key messages. Come up with key messages for the possible scenarios you are simulating for. And also you want to come up with lists of channels of communication. What channels of communication are you going to use to de-escalate the issue in a situation of crisis? Is it going to be social media? Is it going to be traditional media? If it's traditional media, what traditional media has your target audience? And what traditional media can possibly meet your budget? What traditional media should you be communicating with? And do you have their contacts? So in preparation, the first thing that you're doing again is you're simulating possible crisis scenario for your brand. The second thing that you're doing is you're coming up with key messages. Why are we doing that? You're doing that because whatever you say can either de-escalate the issue or further escalate the issue. And thirdly, you're coming up with key communication channels, and you're going to also get their contact. And finally, you have to train your crisis team. Why is a crisis plan important? It's important because it can help you minimize the negative impact of a crisis on your brand's reputation, and it also helps you restore trust among key stakeholders. Now let's discuss some of the important factors for success in crisis communication. And still, we're going to be elaborating with the Chrisland High School, scenario. First, it's empathy and sympathy. Why is this important? Empathy and sympathy basically talks about you feel the pain. You feel the impact of the crisis on your stakeholders. So let's give an example of Chrisland High School. A student has just died at the inter-house sport, and then you get an ambulance to rush the student out. That's a matter of importance. It is a matter of life and death. What occurred with Chrisland was the inter-house sport, or the information I got is that the inter-house sport continued. However, empathy says that you do not continue with such an event just because you feel the pain of your stakeholder, in this case the parents of that child. And so that's empathy. Empathy also says that you understand the concerns, you're taking steps to address them, and you care. This is what empathy is all about. And so it's very important when you're coming up with key messages or how you're going to respond and de-escalate a crisis situation. Empathy and sympathy. The second strategy for de-escalating crisis communication is proactiveness. What does proactiveness say? It basically says that you have foresight, you foresee, you act fast, okay? So you are not reactive, you are not passive, you are proactive. That means you're taking steps ahead of time. Again, let's use the Chrisland situation to elaborate on this point. Now, a student has just died. You will be the first to provide information when asked, and even when not asked. You go on your social media pages, you go on your school website, and you provide information. You provide a press release. You don't wait several days later. You don't run away. That's not how crisis communication works. The crisis will continue to, evolve into a bigger monster than you can control. And so that's why at the very beginning, you nip it in the bud. You're proactive. Remember, you've also shown sympathy. So in your proactiveness, you're still using the tone of empathy and sympathy, but you're also coming forward with information. What I've prepared here says that you are the first to provide information, updates, and responses to any questions or concerns that your stakeholders have. You don't leave people hanging. This would help you build trust, and it shows that the brand is taking responsibility for the situation. Now, crisis communication, the third factor that crisis communication requires, and I'm just going to be sharing 3 today, is transparency. This is so important. Transparency, accountability, and responsibility. Now, the truth is that when situations do occur, when crises do occur, you have to take responsibility. If the fault is yours, you have to acknowledge that this really happened. It does have impact on your stakeholders, and you take responsibility. Taking responsibility could mean, let's use an example of Shell and an oil spillage in a community. It could mean that you organize an oil spillage cleanup. You compensate the community for whatever it is that it has cost them, or the inconvenience of the oil spillage has cost them. That is taking responsibility, and that's a brand that can rebuild trust in that particular community. Let's see what I have here. It says, Brands need to be transparent in their communication, providing accurate and timely information. They need to take responsibility for the crisis and be accountable for any mistakes that have been made. Brands, the truth is, and I'm currently wrapping up. The truth is, brands can actually come out stronger from a crisis, and it can also help them improve their reputation. But that's only if they are honest, transparent, and they take accountability. I hope that you've learned a lot today. Now that's all for today on the Comms Professional. Remember, crisis communication is essential for any brand, whether it's big or small. To handle a crisis effectively, empathy, proactiveness, transparency, accountability, and responsibility are key. Now let me ask you a question. As a comms professional that is consulting for Chrisland High School, what would you have done differently to de-escalate this crisis that you're currently faced with? Let me know in the comment section. Please like and share this video to any comms professional that you know or a student who is hoping to build a career in communication. Thank you so much for watching this video. Do subscribe to my YouTube channel for more updates and trends on communication. Bye for now.